Well, the Big 12 was not the only loser on Saturday. The ACC, I think, very much fits into that category as well, because I think the ACC, by virtue of what happened, is now far less likely to be a two-bid league, much like the Big 12. And all of this kind of sucks because it very much means the conferences that will benefit are undoubtedly the SEC or Big 10, possibly Notre Dame. You know, Notre Dame now really, after the Northern Illinois loss, and everybody's talking about, are they out of the picture? They honestly probably have leeway to even drop a game the rest of the year and still be okay, because you're not going to get a big push, it wouldn't appear, from the Big 12 or the ACC for a second at-large spot. So whereas in the Big 12, the damning results were Houston beating K-State and Texas Tech beating Iowa State, in the ACC, you had SMU just clobbering Pitt, which was a matchup of two unbeatens in conference play. Pitt was unbeaten overall. SMU drug Pitt. And then you had Clemson getting demolished at home by Louisville, which of the two, that is really the more consequential one. But the fact that you had a blowout winner between SMU and Pitt, I mean, people were already not believing in Pitt enough. And then to see them get blown out by SMU, I think a Pitt at-large case is probably completely out the window there. I have a hard time seeing how that would happen. And then SMU, it's tricky because although they do look much better right now and they look like a pretty damn good team, we'll see pending Tuesday how the committee treats them. But they already have a loss, even though they're unbeaten in the ACC. They have a non-con loss to BYU. So how will that be viewed by the committee? How much respect will the committee give BYU? You know, not everybody out there is wanting to give all the respect in the world to BYU. How will the committee actually handle it? So if the Mustangs go through, they lose to Miami in the ACC championship game, for instance, unbeaten ACC regular season, but a non-conference loss and a loss in the ACC championship game. Will that be enough to get SMU in? Maybe. But if you flip-flop that, you still have Pitt unbeaten and then they go smack SMU, I don't know. You could probably debate the merits of which is the stronger case there. I would just say that having one team blow another out may not have been the best thing for the ACC. And ideally, if you can get someone unbeaten and really create all that unbeaten talk around Pitt, that probably helps you more. The bigger thing here is Clemson, because Clemson had done, I mean, you talk about rehabbing an image, right? Clemson had completely rehabbed its image. It was easy to forget what happened to them when they played Georgia at the beginning of the year, which was the life totally choked out of them. I mean, Georgia absolutely sucked their soul out of their body. And so Clemson was going to have to do a lot of work, but they had done a lot of work by dominating teams. Clemson had a great regular season after Georgia, up to the point where they come home to play Louisville. But that's a hard one to get past. It's a double-digit loss, but it looked, I mean, they got it under 2 scores. It was worse than that. It was a game where the final score did not tell the whole story. Louisville crushed them at Clemson. And that was a Louisville team that had played 7 straight weeks, I believe it was, and Clemson was coming off of a bye. Like, situationally, everything absolutely favored the Tigers, and they had, that was a dud. And people already, I think, have doubts, certainly have had doubt the last few years about, like, all right, is Clemson actually on any kind of elite level anymore, or is this thing done? Is Dabo done competing at that level? That was already a narrative that had started to take over a little bit, and that, I think, will work against them somewhat here. So that's going to be a hard one to get past. Now you have 2 kind of blowout losses. One of them is to a Louisville team that's probably going to finish like 8-4, 7-5. And then Georgia, who would be the type of team you would play in the playoff. And it wasn't close at all. They ran and hid from you. So 2 blowout losses. Can Clemson formulate any kind of an at-large case here? I guess if they were to go 10-2 and somehow be left out of the ACC championship game, you know, like SMU gets in there, does 10-2 Clemson have a case? I'm sure they'd be in the discussion. I don't know if it's enough to actually get them in. So that was a tough thing for the ACC. Louisville did them no favors. Louisville is very much in the same vein as Houston and Texas Tech, what we talked about in the Big 12, in terms of just like damage done to the conference and what it means. They played that role. Again, Louisville, don't apologize. Don't apologize for the win. Enjoy it. But it was not a good thing for the ACC. So I guess I would say the ACC has problems just like the Big 12. Like Miami, you go look at playoff odds right now. I was looking at them with The Athletic earlier today. I mean, Miami is like 90+% to get into the playoff. They have a great chance to do it. If they win the ACC title game, though, would a 2-loss SMU or a 3-loss Clemson be getting in? Part of the issue, I didn't really dive into this with SMU, is, I mean, their best win is Pitt, and they're not going to get a better one the rest of the year. They've got a super manageable schedule. Like they will probably be in the ACC championship game. Does that build enough of an at-large case for SMU if their best win is Pitt and then they've got 2 losses there? I don't know. The committee rankings will tell us a lot on Tuesday. I continue to say that. That is the big unknown. The big unknown in this puzzle is what that is going to look like. But I would perceive it to be a definite hurdle for the ACC. And the other thing that really sucks here is, like, if we're going down the list of winners, the winners for the fact that we had Texas Tech, Houston, and Louisville all winning on Saturday, I mean, your big winners are like, for instance, the LSU Alabama loser is a big winner, right? They're going to play this week, and the loser of that game is probably still going to be very much alive in the conversation as a 3-loss SEC team, because you're not going to have a second Big 12 or ACC team most likely taking up a spot. Or at least I could say, if you don't have a second Big 12 or ACC team taking up another spot from the league, definitely opens the door for like 3-loss LSU, 3-loss Brian Kelly waltzing into the playoff, which that is a bummer. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin. I mean, I like Lane Kiffin a lot more than I do Brian Kelly. He's another person and his team that would stand to benefit from this. They just destroyed Arkansas. And they will have to go play Georgia. They're going to have to do that next week. Even if they lost that game, may still be alive. Ole Miss is a beneficiary here. Tennessee, Tennessee still has to play at Vandy and Georgia. So Tennessee could wind up being a 2 or 3 loss team by the end of the year. They would stand to benefit here. Indiana. I'm going to talk more about Indiana in just a moment because of a discussion that happened online in relation to BYU. But Indiana is another one of those teams. Indiana is going to go through an entire season playing one team by the end of the year that will be even receiving votes in the AP top 25 poll in all likelihood. That's going to be Ohio State. And we'll see. I think Indiana is a good team. Like I am very intrigued to watch them go play at Ohio State. See how that game goes. But they will be a beneficiary here. Probably affords them a little bit of extra room to slip up. And then Notre Dame. Of course, Notre Dame. I mentioned that. Notre Dame. I truly hate it, but I think they've got enough extra cushion here to lose a game. Still get into the playoff. It is infuriating, but with a Northern Illinois loss and 2 losses overall, I think that's very much still there for them. So it is what it is. Not a great week for the ACC or Big 12 when it comes to the playoff, which is never the be all end all in this sport. And I will again remind you of that. I don't like that everything is turning into that. I do think that having more of a playoff-minded focus now is natural just because so many more teams are involved. And you think about the types of games that we're talking about here that have legitimate playoff implications, much different in years before we expanded to 12. So it is natural, and I'm just saying part of the reason you are hearing me talk about it more this year is just because it comes into play more, because you have so many more games that actually impact that.